I think it hicked up again, but we're on to that other screen. I force fed it to that screen. You are watching NHL Aftermath, another episode with lots of hiccups at the beginning of this one. This is our third swing at the bat, I think. Hey, Sammy.
Yep.
For August the 26th, this is episode number 13. I think we're through this intro thing. I don't know how it's going to look at the beginning. I may have to do some editing magic here. Sammy, how are you? How has your week been?
Week's been good. Nothing too crazy going on. Just things have been good.
Well, that's good to hear. So before we dive into the episode, guys, there's a lot going on, especially in North America, but pretty much throughout the world with forest fires and hurricanes and that. Most of you guys out there probably have got the phone numbers, the helplines, and all that. And this is going to actually include all you guys up in the Northwest Territories, because I think that's the latest place that's experiencing some horrific forest fires. Well, we had it here in Kelowna. I worked with a couple people that were, evacuated, not sure if they had homes to come to. But here's a listing of some of the numbers. If you're in Ontario, for the Allison Lake Fire Information Officer, 705-564-6165. Kyle Hayward Fire Information Officer, 249-733-1327. Here in Kelowna, you can always call the pound 555 line and call the Red Cross. This would apply to pretty much Maui. I think Red Cross would apply to anywhere. They will direct you where they see fit. But yeah, it's unfortunate, these circumstances that are going on around the world. And I don't know, Sammy, what are your thoughts on all this horrific stuff?
It's scary to see. I mean, especially looking at my home. Looking around you guys right now, back home in the Okanagan, seeing how quickly that fire started to sweep through West Kelowna and then North Kelowna, and I don't know, the way it was growing that one night, that first night, Thursday night, and then Friday last week, it looked like it was just going to rage through and burn down pretty much both cities, and it was scary to see, especially being so far away. It was scary to see, but I'm glad they have everything there under control now, at least. My understanding, pretty much everybody around Lake Country has been able to go home. Same thing around the Glenmore area and Kelowna. People have been allowed to go home now, which is good. But there has been a lot of damage, a lot of carnage. A couple hundred homes have burnt in West Bank. There's been around a dozen between Lake Country and Kelowna burned down. And it's been scary, not to mention the shoe swap as well, right up in Sycamoose as well. There's been a massive fire there as well that did a lot of devastation and damage. So kind of everywhere around the Okanagan has been hit really hard lately, and it's been good to see that they've been getting a better handle on things, and that there's been some rain and stuff going on too. So it's been good to see.
Yeah,
good to see that, but it was scary. It was scary for a few days.
So for me, I had to take my mother to the hospital, or what was it? No, I was visiting her at the hospital. She was already in the hospital at this point. So I took the day off work. That was another different, I don't even want to get into that. She had a very unpleasant experience at the hospital, but we're going to just leave it at that. But yeah, I remember going up early in the morning, and I quickly wanted to go to the Toyota to talk to them about my fender on my car. And I'm going down Highway 33 here in Kelowna. beautiful blue sky at this point in time. And it's like nothing, but you can just see it starting to pillow, and I'm like, oh wow. And I think like I took some dash cam footage and I used a few choice words. I'm not going to get into those words, but yeah, it's very surreal. And then especially when I work with a few of these guys, it is something that, you know, it's scary. It's really scary when it happens. Anyway, Sammy,
Yep.
let's talk some hockey, okay? And unfortunately, we're going to have to dive into some more upsetting news. And we found this out shortly after our episode last week. But Rick Jeaneret, former Buffalo Sabres play-by-play guy, passes away at the age, I believe he was 81 years old. I believe it was 81 years. He had a 51-year career with the Sabres. He's one of those guys, too, that, like, there's a few guys that have done play-by-play over the years, and I'm going to mention some of them, like Rod Phillips in Edmonton, Harry Neal, Bob Cole, Don Whitman, Jim Houston, Forster Hewitt. These are guys their legacy will forever be etched in your brain from watching Hockey Night in Canada and all that kind of stuff. He's one of those guys. When he did the May Day call when Brad May scored. I got it listed here. When Brad May scored the 6-5 overtime goal to clinch the 4-game series of Boston back in 1993, and he yelled, "Mayday, Mayday, May!" And there's many others that he's done. Very notable guy. He achieved the highest honor in broadcasting in 2012 upon earning the Hockey Hall of Fame's Foster Hewitt Award and his tender for play-by-play announcer. And he is also the one announcer that has been with the team, like in all of the NHL history, that has spent the longest with one particular team. So, yeah, some of the comments that came out, Patrick Kane stating, and I'll mention it right away here, showing my sympathy for Rick Jeaneret's family's passing, wrote former star Patrick Kane, who grew up in Buffalo. He was one of the biggest reasons I liked the Sabres so much growing up. I'm sad to say, rest in peace, RJ, wrote former Sabres player Matthew Barnaby. We all love you. Philadelphia Flyers general manager Daniel Briere, a former Sabres captain, released this statement expressing his sadness. The Sabres family and the city of Buffalo and the National Hockey League lost an iconic voice of the game. True gentleman, Briere said, I will tell you that his calls he produced will live in a special place in my heart forever. So I kind of agree with that. Like, I was never really a Sabres fan, but man, he has an iconic voice, and it's sad. It's sad to see. Sad to see. Your thoughts, Sammy?
Yeah, I mean, he was a legend in the broadcasting sector, not just in Buffalo, which of course he was a legend in Buffalo, but he was a legend around the hockey community, especially within the National Hockey League. Like, everyone knew who he was. Everyone, when you thought about him or you thought about the Sabres, you can hear his voice, you can picture his voice, whether it be that, that Mayday call, like you said, or the numerous other calls that he had. I can hear his voice in my head right now calling. He had a distinct voice and he had a distinct way of broadcasting, and he will be missed. His presence will be missed, and his broadcasting will be missed. So yeah, definitely sympathies to his family, Jeaneret family, but fans of the Buffalo Sabres and City of Buffalo. It's a sad day.
Yeah, it was a sad day for sure. Well, it's a sad week, I guess. But yeah, he is a legend, and yeah, sad. Let's get into some of the deals that have happened as the really well anticipated, and this seemed to drag on forever. And me as an Oiler fan, I was like, what the hell? Like, when's this going to happen? But it has finally happened. Evan Bouchard re-signs a 2-year deal at $3.5 million. Boy, the Oilers are going to be in some cap hell in a couple of years with Leon and Connor coming up here. And then, obviously, if Bouchard has a hell of a 2 years here, he's going to be asking for more money. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Your thoughts on this deal? And did the Oilers make a good decision, or should they have tried to lock him up long term? I don't think they didn't have the money to lock him up long term.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, it's a good sign, and obviously, like, having Bouchard committed to the Oilers at least for a couple of years is great, but long term probably would have been better. Yeah, I think the money's fine.
Well, they didn't have money to sign him long term because he would have probably wanted. He probably would have wanted maybe in the $5 million. They were right to the penny here on this.
Yeah.
So we'll see. The big, huge one, of course, happening this week is the fact that Auston Matthews is now locked up by the Maple Leafs. This had to happen, or tree living would have been hung. I think this had to happen. He is now the highest paid NHL player for the next few months until another leapfrog happens. But here's the funny thing, and this is courtesy of SDPN. He's the highest NHL player. If you put him parallel to the NBA, he is the 113th highest paid in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, wow, that's quite the difference when it comes to pay. 113th highest NBA player gets basically Auston Matthews money. Your thoughts on Matthews being signed and they finally locking him down? And is there a chance that William Nylander is going to get locked down next year? Like, something's got to give. Tavares has got to go. Something's got to give.
I don't think you could sign Nylander after this. Like, you either trade Nylander or Tavares or something. Like, you don't get rid of Marner, and you're not going to get rid of Matthews, obviously. So, like, you got to get rid of Tavares or Nylander to even remotely afford to keep this team going. Like, 4 years, great. He's committed semi-long term at this point. 13.25, I think is a little high. I think it's high. I think Matthews is a superstar in the NHL, and I think he's an absolutely incredible player. I just think 13.25 is a little too much. But regardless, like you said, yeah, Toronto's already in some major cap problems. This is only going to further put them into cap problems until they solve something quickly.
And they put the Oilers in a cap problem because I think Leo is a better player than he is. I think Leo's a better player. He's definitely showing more talent in the playoffs anyway. And he's going to command, minimum, he's going to command 3.25 minimum. But he's going to probably want 14 something when it's his time. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with those two players. Sammy, we're going to do it again here. We are going to break down the Central Conference here. We're going to rank teams from 8th to 1st. Get your inside, my inside, and what we think will happen when the chips fall by April, just like we did last week. And then on Thursday, when we do our episode Thursday, we will be doing the Atlantic to wrap up the Eastern Conference, and the following week we'll do the Pacific to wrap up the whole thing. Who, young man, do you have in 8th place?
I have the guys that I'm wearing here. I have Chicago Blackhawks in 8th. So I think with Chicago, they got Bedard, and I mean, I guess they picked up Taylor Hall and Foligno, Corey Perry or whatever, but I don't know. I just don't still see them as being like incredibly better than they were last year. I don't see them being a whole heck of a lot better. I could totally be wrong about this. They could move up. They could actually be a lot better this year, given a little bit more, some better players. Maybe the Bedard effect helps them grow a ton. I don't know. I don't really see it that much. I think Bedard's going to have a great year, and I think some other players are going to develop well on that team. But I just think overall, I don't see it don't see them being remarkably better.
Yeah. I got the Yotes in 8th. They're just, I don't know. They're just, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. I think of Coyotes, I think of failure. From the team, from the executive offices, from not paying bills, from not trying to figure out where they're going to play at, just everything. The one word that comes to mind is failure. So I'm going to stick with that note and put them in 8th. I mean, they got some up and coming talent. They are rebuilding. They are making some good decisions by saying it's a rebuild and getting all these draft picks in. So that might help them down the road. But for this year, I got them in 8th. 7th?
7th, I have Arizona, much for similar reasons to what you said. I just don't think they're going to be overly an amazing team this year. I think they'll be better than they were last year, to be honest. I think they will be a better team than they were last year, but I don't see them being, again, remarkably better. There's still definitely 6 teams in that division that are better than them. So,
yeah, and trust me, guys, I know I might get a message from the Arizona Coyote fan base saying, "Oh, you're a clown. Why are you so evil to her?" I'm not trying to be evil. I want to see the Coyotes do good.
so do I.
Wayne Gretzky coached there. Like,
Yeah.
I want this team to do good. I'm sick of seeing. I actually want them to succeed, and I'm hoping they succeed in Mesa. But you know, when you got this history of this negative trail of crap following you, it's hard for me as an outside fan looking into that organization and saying, "Hey, things are going to be wonderful." Okay, I got St. Louis in my 7th spot. They lost a lot of key guys. They're kind of in rebuild mode. I think this is the year that what's the coach's name? I keep forgetting his name. I know they won the cup
Craig
in what,
Berube?
Hey?
Craig Berube?
Berube, yeah, correct. I think this might
Former
be
Calgary Flames tough guy?
Yeah. Oh, that's right too. Yeah. Yeah, he is,
Yep.
eh?
Yep.
Well, now that you mention that, yeah. I remember Berube, and I think probably McSorley probably squared off a few times. But yeah,
Maybe.
I just I see them kind of right up there. 6th?
My 6th is St. Louis.
Okay.
Again, much similar reasons.
Yep.
They traded their big name guys. Don't really think they brought anybody in to replace them. Just don't really see them being. Definitely don't see them being better than they were last year. See them being about on par, if not worse than they were last year. I still just have. I have zero faith in Jordan Binnington. Never liked him, and I like St. Louis. St. Louis was one of my favorite teams when they won the cup. I've always hated Binnington. Even when he won them the cup, I thought he was cocky and a douche. So I don't like him. But anyway,
Yeah, well, you know what? I think he has a little bit of that, like you say, cocky and doucheness, but he also had a lot of people. And I remember Martin Brodeur was saying, "Oh, you're never going to make it," and blah, blah, blah. So that fires
yeah,
that. But I always.
he hasn't done anything since that cup though.
Yeah, that's true. And you're always better off being more humble, right? You always are, and just kind of, well, I showed it to you. I don't need to.
Him and Matt Murray. Him and Matt Murray remind me very much of each other because Murray came in as a rookie and won 2 Stanley Cups as a rookie, technically, as a goalie, and then he was all high and mighty on top of the world and was cocky, and then now he's injured. I mean, who knows if he ever really even plays again?
Yeah.
And then Binnington, kind of same thing. He came in as a rookie in the NHL, went absolute crazy Patrick Waugh, Dominic Hasek for the second half of that season, got St. Louis into the playoffs, ripped them through the playoffs to win the cup, and then his stats since then have been very mediocre. So,
but the one thing I will say with Binnington is he really, like, compared to Matt Murray, he was the reason why they made the playoffs that year, and he was the reason why they won that Stanley Cup. Whereas Matt Murray was not. Crosby was the reason why, right? Let's face it. Crosby, Malkin, Letang, those guys.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit different. I got Chicago in 6th. I do think they are going to improve slightly, but not enough. Yeah, Connor Bedard, I think, is going to be a huge factor. I think Taylor Hall there. Perry always seems to get teams doing good. Like anywhere he goes, like how many Stanley Cup he missed? He lost in every one of them. He lost in the Stanley Cup final with Dallas. He lost in the Stanley Cup final with Montreal. Lost in the Stanley Cup final with Tampa. Like just he has no luck at finishing, but he gets them there. So I don't know. He does have a lot of leadership skills, and he brings that lay on the line kind of mentality. And I think people like Taylor Hall need that, and Taylor Hall's going to get that, and they're going to get it from Foligno as well. So I think you're going to see. Well, he was with Foligno last year, so I'm sure he's already experienced a little bit. But I think Taylor Hall needs to wake up a little bit and understand, hey, this game is more than just trying to make passes and plays. Like there's sacrifices you got to make, and you got to do it. So that's who I have. Your 5th guy?
My 5th is Nashville. They added like O'Reilly and Luke Shen, but they also got rid of Johansson, Duchesne. I just don't see them being really any better than last year. Probably on par with where they were last year, missing the playoffs. I think they're going to be going into a bit of a retool. That being said, don't knock against a team that has UC Saros as your starter and Roman Josi as your top blue liner. Don't knock against that. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't see them making the playoffs. I have them in 5th place and not as a playoff team. So no wild card for them.
You know what? I'm going to bump them to 5th now. I actually had them in 3rd, but
all right.
I'm going to swap my 3rd and 5th.
Okay.
So I'm going to put Nashville in the 5th pretty much for the same reasons that you have. One of my main factors is that I had him so high initially is Barry Trotz. But Barry Trotz isn't going to be coaching them. But he is, from what I've been told, he's such a personal guy. He'll sit down and talk with a guy for an hour and a half. Just shoot the shit with him. Just how's it going? How's family? Blah, blah, blah. And people want to play good for a guy like that. A guy that just legitimately shows some care, some interest in you, right? So I initially shot him high, but then I'm thinking, you know what? He's the GM. He's not going to be around to talk all that much. And, if he was the coach, it's a different story. So I'm going to bump him back down to 5th where you have him.
Okay.
And for the same reasons. And you do have an aging O'Reilly and yeah. So I'm going to put that, and then Tyson Barrie. I mean, yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Barrie.
5th sounds good with me.
Okay. Winnipeg.
Okay.
Again, they got rid of Dubois and they got rid of Wheeler. Other than that, the team hasn't changed a whole heck of a lot, to be honest. I don't see them being a bad team. I see them being probably middle of the pack, maybe somewhere between 16th to 20th in the NHL, somewhere in that range. Probably around 90 to 94, 95 points. I don't see them as being a wild card team. So yes, I'm picking the Pacific to have 2 wild cards. Spoiler alert. And again, though, don't knock against Connor Hellebuck. He could drag Winnipeg into a wild card spot himself, but I just don't think he has enough support around him to be able to make up the differences. He could put up a .935 save percentage this year and a 1.5 goals against average. That probably still wouldn't be enough, given I think the lack of overall scoring depth that this team has and some defensive liabilities.
I agree. I got Minnesota in 4th. And the reason why I'm knocking them down a little bit is the loss of Dumba. This guy, though, And I guess it depends on what your thought is on plus minus, but he had an amazing plus minus. So he was always a very effective player on the ice. May
Mm,
not have been a massive goal scorer or big checker, but he always seemed to like he had a great plus minus. I don't know what it was. I should have wrote it down, but I remember something like 25 plus minus plus last year. Like really good numbers. So he's obviously very responsible on the ice. I think that loss is going to take him down a little bit. Another year of Fleury. I mean, I'm sorry, he's getting up there. He's got to start. He's got to start slowly fading. Like
yeah.
so. I got them in fourth. Your third?
My third is Minnesota. Much for, I guess, similar reasons as you said about the Wild, but I do think that still a tandem of Fleury and Gustafsson I think is good. Gustafsson played fantastic last year. Honestly, he was amazing last year. On a average Minnesota team. I think Fleury at this point is probably better suited as the backup for sure. Maybe a 1A, 1B situation where Gustafsson's your 1A and he plays maybe 10 more games than Fleury does, but I think probably overall, probably a 1A, 1B situation most likely. Um, and then just overall, like the team, I think top to bottom is pretty decent. Blue line, forward core as well. I mean, Kirill Kaprizov, don't bet against him as well to pot up 110 points this year. But I think they'll be average. Like I don't again the Central Division just overall I think honestly outside of like Colorado and Dallas it's just kind of meh.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is part two of that follow up with the swap I did. I got Winnipeg in third. Um, it's this was a tough one to do. I'm finding this year it's actually there's no clear cut. I find last year I think it was easier for me when we were going through our stuff prior to the lube. I think it was the lubed one we did last year.
Yeah.
I just found it a little bit easier this year. I find I can honestly make an arguing point for a lot of scenarios, right? So I'm gonna have
Yeah.
Winnipeg in there. I think the shame dance is finally over. I think they have something to prove this year. Shifley, I think is gonna be. I think he's gonna have a real good year. And I think Hellebuck. Well, Hellebuck always has a good year. Yeah, I just think. I think Winnipeg. Oh, God, man, those three, third, fourth, and fifth. It's again, it's like last week when we did the Pacific. There's just that little stretch of teams that you just don't know how it's going to wind up. But I'll put Winnipeg in third.
Okay.
Second,
Second place is Dallas. I have Dallas in second. Kind of had a hard time picking between them and the Avs. So obviously Colorado's my number one team. I had a bit of a struggle between the two of them because I think they both are, I think on paper, pretty comparable teams right now. You look at Dallas, and I think they have the edge in goaltending. I think Jake Ottinger is a better goalie than Alexander Georgiev. Not saying anything bad against Georgiev. I think he's still a great goaltender, and Pavel Francouz is his backup. But I think Jake Ottinger is just a better goalie as a starter. Blue line, I mean, Miro Heiskanen versus Cale Makar. I'm taking Cale Makar, but Miro. That's no slight. That's no slight. That's no slight at Heiskanen. That's no slight to Heiskanen. Miro Heiskanen is still an incredible defenseman, and Dallas is very lucky to have them. The rest of their decor is pretty solid. Front forward wise on Dallas, definitely give the edge to Colorado on that one. Dallas, though, I mean, Jamie Benn is probably better suited as like a third line guy at this point. Sagan, I think Sagan should be a first line guy if he plays his capabilities, but he's probably second line at least right now. Jason Robertson again was a 100-point player last year, just an incredible young guy. Joe Pavelski is just kicking Father Time down the road, and he's still playing like he's in his prime. He's playing fantastic. Dallas is very good, and they're a good solid team to be in second. They could be first. I'm not saying that they can't or possibly won't pass Colorado and be first, but I think Dallas is better suited in second right now, at least in my opinion. Colorado as well. You look at their forward core. I mean, how can you knock against Nathan McKinnon? Landeskog's injured. Mikko Rantanen. Now you got Ryan Johansson on that team. Oh, I forgot Matt Duchene's now on Dallas, so that's a good addition for them. But Colorado, and then again, Cale Makar, Bowen Byram, Devon Taves, like Colorado, top to bottom, still a stacked team, even without Gabriel Landeskog. They're a stacked team, and I think their goaltending would be the weakness there, but I still don't like Georgiev and Francouz are still great. So that's me. I think Colorado's going to be the better team for them for sure and win that division, but pretty comparable teams, I think, overall.
Yeah, once again, Sammy, you and I don't see eye to eye on our first and second, as I do have Dallas in first and Colorado in second.
That's fair.
Again, you have very valid points. It could go either way. Again, like this year, trying to do the predictions, I'm finding is actually very tough. So,
kind of a crapshoot.
I guess that's prop to Bettman for parity. But
yeah,
it's and I think the only reason why I put Colorado in second is because of Landeskog. I do think, okay, so goaltending, Dallas has the edge. Defense, Colorado has the edge. Offense, I'm going to give that to Dallas because they have many outlets that are decent, whereas Colorado, yes, they have Nate, but they, and there's several players, and like you said, top to bottom down the list. But I think Dallas is ready. I think they're ready to turn some heads this year and potentially go for a Stanley Cup.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
I think it'll be an exciting battle. I think between Dallas and Colorado. I like Dallas. I've always liked Dallas. I didn't like them when Mike Ribeiro was on the team. Like he was like one of my least favorite players ever in the history of the NHL. But I like Dallas a lot now. I really do. And I'm excited to see what they can do. If they can make it to a conference final or make it back to the final like they did a few years ago, I think they easily could give a team in the West or in the East rather a run for their money. So it's gonna be a fun battle, I think, in the West overall. I mean, we'll get into the Pacific later, but I think overall it's gonna be a fun battle this year.
I really think we are gonna see a lot of oh wow moments. That team is actually doing that good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, that's props to parity, but we'll see. We will see what happens here. Anyway, Sammy, I think we got ourselves another episode in. We are going to be back live next Thursday night at 6 p.m. I got to get in frame here a little bit. I'm a little out of frame. 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time next Thursday. Obviously, this channel is going to fluctuate due to our personal obligations. And there may be some changes in the very near future regarding some stuff. I'm not going to get into too much details. Sammy knows, but we're just kind of keeping it kibosh right now. Anyway, Sammy, why don't you get us out of here, bud?
Sounds good. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in and watching. We really appreciate it. If you like what you saw, like what you heard, please like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate hearing back from you guys so that we know what we can improve on. And also, we just like having a discussion, see what other people's opinions are. And so yeah, like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends. We're just two guys that enjoy watching and talking about hockey. So yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you Thursday.